How much money does a pipeline welder make per hour? How much money does a pipeline welder make per year? What's the average rate for a pipeline welder? Just so everyone is aware, there is a wide range of money that a pipeline welder can make, that a pipe welder can make. So it vastly depends, but I wanted to make this video just to answer the commonly asked question for those of you that may have not seen previous videos or haven't got a clear answer, or just so it's out there. Another thing that I wanted to mention right off the bat is being a pipeline welder, there's a fair amount of expenses as well. And I recommend focusing on those expenses when weighing your options, because although it's cool to drive a welding truck around, lifted truck, cool looking truck with a welding bed, this, that, and the other, it can be expensive if you're not thrifty or not careful, or if you're not aware of such, or aware of other factors like being off for a certain amount of time per year. That's another thing that's kind of tippy-toed around about whenever it comes to the welding industry, pipeline specifically. Now, I never want to discourage anybody from getting into this. I talk about it a lot, I help as much as I can, but as my wife tells me, it's not healthy to sugarcoat things, and it's good for people to be aware of the reality of life when weighing your options on whether to get into mobile rig welding or pipeline welding or whatever it is that you're looking to get into. So let's jump right into it. On average, depending on whether you're in the 798 or if you're not in the 798, I'm only using the 798 as an example because that's what I'm a member of, that's what I know about, that's what I have experience with. I don't know about other locals, because there are other locals that you can work for running your truck, not just the 798. But with the 798, the average pay right now in 2023 is, for welders, it's anywhere from 40 to 54 roughly on the arm. So with pipeline welding, they pay on the arm, on the truck, and a certain amount per day for per diem. So we'll use simple numbers for an example. You got $40 an hour on the arm, dash $15 an hour on the truck, dash $100 a day for per diem. 40, 15, and 100. That's just an easy example so you can see how it's broke down. So like I said, welders is anywhere from $40 to $54 an hour on the arm. I believe it's 18 now on the truck in the 798, $18 an hour on your truck. And I wasn't able to find a low number, but a high number for per diem with the 798 is $155 per day. Per diem is to cover your living expenses. Your truck pay is straight time. You do not get overtime on it. Your arm pay, you do get overtime on it. Non-union welders, average pay is anywhere from $40 to $50 per hour on the arm, 15 to 17 on the truck, and an average of 120 per day for per diem. Now, I'll use my 8 years of pipeline welding experience to give you an average. Whenever I was pipeline welding, I grossed, which means before expenses, just what the checks were wrote to me after they pulled taxes out, but before I paid any expenses, the checks that were wrote to me in the 8 years I was pipeline welding, I made anywhere from $90,000 a year to, I believe the most I made was like $190 per year. Again, my personal situation, my wife and I were roughly 23 years old whenever we decided to buy 2 new trucks and a new camper all in 1 year. Do not advise. There is some benefits to that, but I still don't advise. The benefit is I hustled a lot more, I feel like. I was very much excited to find a job, because I don't like owing the bank money. But anyway, we won't get into all that. I don't advise it because I became a slave to my job, if you will. Because I had, at minimum, just in loan payments, we had 2 $800 a month truck payments, so call it $2,000, plus the $500 and some odd dollar camper payment, $2,500 a month minimum just in loan payments. Just payments, no fuel, no maintenance on anything, no groceries, no insurance, no payment for a house back home, no other consumables. We didn't have kids back then, still don't. Insurance for the stuff we insured at that time, roughly $400 or $500 a month, so that's $3,000 total. Payment on a house back home, call it $1,600 a month. So that's $4,500, $4,600 a month. Fuel on average that we crunched it at a couple of times that I was, depending on how far away the campground was that I was staying from the yard whenever I was pipelining, fuel was roughly, what was it, roughly 1,000? 1,000 comes to mind, give or take, a month in fuel. Well, let's see, maybe less than 1,000. It all depended on the price, but that gives you an idea. Lot rent on average whenever we were traveling for our camper, to park our camper at a campground, was $500 a month. That might actually be low because I want to say we paid 500 plus electric sometimes. So 500 plus a month. I done quit adding up the total, but I'm sure, what have you been keeping up? Are we over $6,000 a month? I didn't even put in a number for maintenance because maintenance vastly depends on how new a truck you have. Before I bought this new truck, I probably spent $15,000 fixing my old truck. Whenever I bought the new truck, I didn't have to put that kind of money into it in such a short amount of time, if that makes sense. But I also had $800 payment every month. All that to say is, I'm sure there's an average percentage of your income that you're supposed to delegate towards maintenance. I don't know what that percentage is. Keep in mind, these are just some bigger ticket items, if you will. This doesn't include entertainment, vacation, unexpected health issues, health insurance, although if you're in a union, usually they provide health insurance up until a certain point. If you want to learn more about unions and benefits, retirement and such, and the difference between working union and non-union when it comes to pipelining, we'll leave a link in the description of a video I made several years ago about the difference, again, from my experience with the union and non-union pipeline work. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that there are more costs that could come into play. It just depends on your personal situation and where you prioritize your moolah. To simplify it, just call it $7,000 a month that you have in expenses. In our situation, you could obviously knock that down to 4 or 5 maybe, but just call it $7,000 a month to have some good, reliable trucks, a new camper to live in. Call it $7,000 a month. $7,000 a month times 12 months is $84,000 a month in expenses. So the year that I made $190,000 minus $84,000, I made $106,000. Not bad, not bad. But if I was off for a few months and only made $90,000 that year, I would have only made roughly $6,000. Now that's not totally accurate because whenever those months I was off, I wouldn't have had the extra lot rent, wouldn't have been burning as much fuel, and a few other expenses, extra groceries of living on the road. So I would have made a little more than $6,000, but you see the idea. I still would have had my truck payments, still would have had the camper payment. But anyway, I hope that's helpful. I hope it's not too discouraging. I hope it's more helpful and insightful versus discouraging, educational. Sometimes it just helps if somebody with experience shares their experience. That way you can learn what not to do. Don't buy 3 new things in 1 year. Don't do that. Also, a lot of pipeline jobs supply certain consumables like oxygen acetylene, grinder discs, welding rod, a few other things depending on what job you're on. If you're curious about more things that pipeline jobs supply, we will link a video that I did specifically tailored to that topic in the description of this video. Again, I hope this video was helpful. I don't particularly like videos over the money matter when it comes to welding. Not because I don't think it's helpful. I obviously know that a lot of you have the question, and it's a very good question, especially those of you that are asking the expenses, because that's even better of a question, in my opinion. But I just don't want anybody to get discouraged over the fact or get overwhelmed, because it is easy to get overwhelmed at times, depending on your personality. And on the other hand, I don't want you to get too excited. I want you to have some real expectations when it comes to the pipeline lifestyle, the welding lifestyle, oil-filled lifestyle in general. I guess if I had to inspire or plant a little seed of hope here at the end, the neat thing about welding, especially mobile welding, is it's so diverse. So as long as you're focused on welding and learning how to weld, learning how to fabricate, not just counting on pipeline, it's a lot less stressful and you're a lot less likely to become a slave to the pipeline lifestyle. Whenever we were traveling, my wife and I met so many people that we felt that they might have been a slave to the lifestyle, because it is good money when you're staying busy. Obviously, we learned that just now. Like if you make $200,000 a year, then you can make, $100,000 a year, depending on how you spend your money and whatnot, or whatever. It can be a lucrative lifestyle, But depending on how you manage that money, and depending on how you carry yourself through every job, how you market yourself, what you're doing with your reputation throughout your career, will depend on how much you have to be a slave to the pipeline lifestyle or have to count on just that specific income. All that to say is, being a pipeline welder has the benefits of being a mobile rig welder, as you've seen me do in the past few years here at home. And that's the neat thing about having a welding truck. A welding truck, a welding setup, and all your tools is not a bad investment, whether you're gonna pipeline or not. Say you have a steady single hand job, a steady welding job, but you don't wanna travel because you got such a good gig at home working single hand, and you've thought about building a rig, but you're not sure. In my opinion, like I said, it's not a bad investment because you can have that welding truck all put together, just parked underneath the carport there in the driveway, or parked in your shop, covered up, not getting rained on, not getting sunshine on. And then whenever you get off work from your 40-hour-a-week job that pays insurance, that pays you steady every week, you can go make an extra couple $1,000s after work, or make an extra couple $1,000s that weekend. In my opinion, if you're gonna be a welder and you want to do a little bit of mobile welding, whether it's pipeline or not, having a mobile welding truck is an investment. If you're interested in building a welding rig, check out our trade school website, arosswelding.school. You can find a course called the Quick Rig. It is a course we designed so you could build a welding rig in a short amount of time, but also on a budget. The idea behind the Quick Rig was to get you set up so you can go make money as soon as possible and then upgrade as you go. But the Quick Rig could work long term if you need it to, or maybe you only use it for, a weekend out of the month if you have a full-time gig. If that's your situation, it would be great for that also. Thanks for watching. For other helpful resources, check out our main website, arosswelding.com. Have an awesome weekend, and remember, learn something every day.